The College Baseball Experience on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 100 times your entry with Underdog Fantasy Pick'em. Sign up today with the promo code TCE SGPN and claim your special first pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by the Mega Memorial Merch Sale. 15% off everything in the SGPN merch store with promo code SGPN May. All right, it is showtime once again here on the College Baseball Experience. Apologize to anybody that was looking forward to the doubleheader that was supposed to be timely. I had this stream for College Baseball Picks Tuesday, May 21st, scheduled for 11 p.m. I forgot how fun it was to look for conference tournament starting pitchers, projected, probable pitchers. Man, third year running. I'm doing it daily podcasts, but man, I forgot how fun it is. I made a joke earlier on in the day too about like just a picture, a screenshot of a TBA pitcher versus a TBA pitcher. And I'm like handicapping conference tournaments 101. But I didn't think that in my third year of doing this, it would still take me a little over 5.5 hours to corral every starting pitcher for the 20-ish games that are being offered for tomorrow, but it did. So and shout out to my guys. So the fantasy college baseball group chat that I created way back in February when we did that fantasy college baseball draft. Shout out to Johnny, who was doing it for select few games, and he tweeted them out. And then I think he must have passed out, went to bed. He has a day job, I believe. So he found a couple of initial ones on some big games, some TMZ games. Jake Fettner put together an entire list. He beat me to it as I was writing them down. He beat me to it and sent it in our group chat. So now I think we're all going to work together on this because we didn't know that at the time we were kind of going all at the same time up and down the slate. I think moving forward, this should be a little bit faster of a process. And thank God I've found some other people that are just as crazy as I am in this space, because who knows, you might have Jake join me. And also in years past, I've put together a Google Doc of all the projected starting pitchers that I found, and I've put it in the show link. And then people have joined the Google Doc, and there's been like up to 80 plus people on some of those days. I don't really have to do that again because I know Grissom, they have the really, really good website over there at College Baseball Insiders. They're going to have that up on their scoreboard of all the pitchers that Jake Fettner found, that I found, that Grissom found, that Johnny found. But I could still do that if you'd like me to put together a Google Doc. So, but yeah, I have attempted my best effort of corralling every single pitcher for games that will be offered here on Tuesday. And yeah, I think we're going to be one of the first ones to the market for sure. There have been some prices that have moved in the last hour or two, since I think there's been more than just us four corralling these, but some people may have beat us to the punch and found one that they specifically liked and bet it right away. But for the most part, these lines are still pretty fresh. They could move. All it takes is a small amount of money to move these things, because it's still a niche market. But we've got college baseball beginning at 9 a.m. Eastern, everybody. We're going to take you to the American Athletic Conference. Thank God. I mean, these are the times that I live for. I mean, the last 2 years, handicapping these games that begin at 9. I'm up till 4 a.m. Games begin at 9. I get 3 hours of sleep, and then I'm waking up in time for the games, and I'm falling asleep during the games. I'm so glad that it's all back. UAB taking on Wichita State here in the AAC tournament. The Blazers are plus 135. The Shockers minus 175. Projected pitchers, we have plenty of them, actually. And I think that it helps because it's the first game of the week. It'll get more hectic as we're waiting for these game write-ups, game notes to come out, and they're still kind of playing, wrapping up after playing. That's when it's going to get even harder to find some of these guys. So if you thought it was hard doing it yourself, hold my beer, I should say, for the next couple of days. UAB starting Colin Daniel. I almost said Chase Daniel, who's a backup quarterback in the NFL for a couple of years. Colin Daniel starting for the Blazers. He's a sophomore right-hander, 7-3 with a 3.15 ERA, 69 strikeouts, 16 walks, and 85.2 innings, 357 SIERA. This is their ace, or just a really, really solid pitcher, because in his last 6 starts, he has a 2.96 ERA. Wichita State is countering with their ace, Caden Favors, the senior left-handed pitcher, 8-4, 3.38 ERA, 95 strikeouts, 18 walks, and 93.1 innings with a 2.95 SIERA. Originally, I did not have the UAB starter. Shout out to Jake Fettner for sending that over to me. And I was going to originally take Wichita State against the TBA for UAB with Wichita State's ace. But now that I know there are 2 ace caliber pitchers on the mound bumping in this game, give me the early morning under 9 a.m. Eastern time. Both offenses going to be a little bit of sleepy, and both aces are going to come ready to deal, I think. So UAB, Wichita State, if the totals come out, check DraftKings initially. They kind of originate the market. They were the first ones to market for a lot of these games. I'm reading the odds off of DraftKings line shop, because if somebody plays something on DraftKings, that line might move on DK, and on Bet Rivers or another place that kind of copied DK's lines, if they haven't taken that action that DK has, those stale lines are available still on the other books. So that's the advice there for sure. Definitely line shop. And shout out to, I think it's Tony Feuds, OJ Tony Feuds on Twitter. He tagged me and I forgot to bump it, but he's put together a college baseball odds board. So basically all the opening odds, all the opening lines that was grabbed, he puts them in a doc, and then he goes and finds fair value. He was really good early on in the season putting those things out. It's just a ton of work, especially just finding these pitchers. Like for me, it was a ton of work, but for him, he's just creating docs of teams and getting the opening lines before anybody starts to hit them. So that's a ton of work as well. So yes, more so under. I will be picking on our picks page. I pick every single game side, and if run lines and totals come out for these games, if I wake up prior to 9 a.m., that's an issue sometimes as well. I will have picks on the totals and run lines as well when they become available. So yeah, I'm still getting texts in our college baseball group chat, which is an amazing, amazing thing to see. Wichita State, I think, is the pick there under for sure. Before we kind of zoom through the other games, because there are plenty of games that we could talk about here, I have to do some quick housekeeping because it's the biggest week in racing. The Indy 500, the Monaco Grand Prix, and the Coke 600. Rod and Cody from the NASCAR Gambling Podcast and F1 Gambling Podcast have you covered. Make sure to join their Kyle Larson Diecast car giveaway that's free to enter. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/race to register, and make sure to subscribe to the NASCAR Gambling Podcast and F1 Gambling Podcast. Plus, we're running a mega Memorial Day merch sale, 15% off everything in our merch store with the promo code TCE, or with the promo code SGPN May. Personally, like our hat line for the college experience for TCE is outstanding. Plus, we've got plenty of shirts, a lot of Dundeeisms. Mike Leach, if you're a Mississippi State baseball fan, we've got Mike Leach shirts up there that we were donating proceeds to last year. A lot of good stuff over there on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network shop. The chat's bumping. We've got, shout out to the 41 people watching. Wow. Tanix Caesar says, let's get it going. Brandon Wyan said, Wyvrit said, Noah, let's go. And then Ghost Dad says, games start in 7 hours, boys. The chat was also bumping before I even went live. So shout out to all these guys that unfortunately probably didn't make the live show. This comment was 9:53 p.m. when I have this scheduled. He said we have odds. So that was like pretty soon after the opening lines came out. I would say like an hour and a half later than that. Nathan Fisher said, I tried to stay up, but he's fading, LOL. And that was at 1:03 a.m. Mailman Mike said, what's up, Noah? Let's make some freaking money. That was 1:17 a.m. Taylor Miller says, yeet at 1:25. Alfred 44, any word on going live, but I'm about to pass out, but tomorrow has a full slate. I mean, it is a full slate. Nathan Fisher says, problem he's having is a lot of pitching matchups not listed. Yeah, or it's just very, very hard to find pitching information. But we have a fantasy team of college baseball degens and handicappers putting things together. Amazing, amazing work by all of us. And I'm coming to you live at 2:11 a.m. to deliver it. Let's get back to it, though. I forgot to give you some team stats because that's what's driving a lot of the handicap for me in most of these matchups. UAB 4.79 weekend team ERA. That is a flat number for more of the important pitchers in a pitching staff. Of course, the important arms are going on the weekends. So those guys are going to be the more likely ones to be pitching in the conference tournaments here. But when we have a starting pitcher that we have found, and they are normally a starter, not just a spot starter that only make relief appearances with like 1 to 2 innings per appearance, we're going to take the starting pitcher line more seriously than the flat weekend team ERA. But the offenses we're weighting heavily into our handicap because they are going to drive the day against some pitchers that don't normally pitch in these bigger type of games. So UAB 4.79 weekend team ERA, 7.49 team OPS, 87 WRC plus. Wichita State better all around. Weekend team ERA of 4.78, 8.47 team OPS, 105 WRC plus. Okay, next game here with the updated odds: Kansas plus 105, Kansas State minus 135. All right, I got to go to my Big 12. I have all these stats saved in via tournament that I can go and find. K-State weekend team ERA of 5.31, 8.08 team OPS, 97 WRC plus. Kansas 4.65 weekend team ERA, 8.92 team OPS, 113 WRC plus. On paper, the edge goes a little bit to Kansas there, and Kansas is starting Evan Shaw, the junior southpaw. 3-1, 5.54 ERA, 54 strikeouts, 19 walks, and 37.1 innings with a 2.81 SIERA, and he's got a 2.76 ERA in his last 5 starts. Pretty solid form from him. However, Kansas State's going with a regular for them for sure, Josh Wintrob. He's a grad senior right-handed pitcher. He's 2-4 on the year, 6.39 ERA, 52 strikeouts, 12 walks, and 49.1 innings with a 3.32 SIERA. The experience for sure of Wintrob is intriguing for Kansas State, but I think I like Kansas in this matchup. I think they have the pitcher, and definitely he's in better form than Wintrob, as Shaw in his last 5, he has a 2.76 ERA, and Kansas on paper has the better offense. Kansas State has some more offensive stars than the Jayhawks do, but as a total unit on paper, Kansas has been the better team this season. So I'm going to go with the Jayhawks here in this matchup. The next game that we have is at 10 a.m. as well. Florida Gulf Coast plus 105, Austin Peay minus 135. This line is one of them that have moved. This one opened, I think it was Austin Peay minus 120, FGCU minus 110. Both of them have to be announced pitchers slapped next to their game notes or write-ups or just nothing at all. So we're going to go with TBA. So this is when the flat weekend team ERAs come into play for me personally. Austin Peay, 735 weekend ERA, but they do have the number one team in the country, an 1125 team OPS, 158 WRC plus. And I don't know if I said number one team in the country or number one offense. I meant number one offense in the country, because this is ridiculous offensive stats that they put up. They have just up and down the order guys that can mash. I think they had 3 first-team All-Sun players from that lineup get named to all conference teams today. I was retweeting basically all of those. I like to give anybody some of their shine when those get released. So shout out to all the voters that actually pay attention throughout the season or just look at the stats and find some of the best guys. But really cool honors for all of those guys. So yeah, I was retweeting all the first teams and some of the bigger player awards. Austin Peay, Florida Gulf Coast are going to score plenty of runs because FGCU, their offense, 890 team OPS, 114 WRC plus, 560 weekend team ERA. So neither one of these pitching staffs are pretty good. Both offenses are much above average compared to the average college baseball offense. So there's going to be plenty of runs scored if the books go up and plaster a 12 or a 13, a really lazy number. This one should have some runs featured in it. It's an early game. However, the game script should provide for it. Matt Grissom in the YouTube chat, he said, I should be asleep, but I'm here soaking up more college baseball content. Love you, Noah B. And I shouted him out early, but he's putting together a really good doc that'll be out on their website containing most of these starting pitchers, if not all, or maybe a couple extra that come out early in the morning. And Alfred 44 says that over is going to be high. It should be in the ASUN. And if it's not, I advise you to hit it. Next game here on the slate is LSU and Georgia. The Tigers are minus 135. Georgia plus 105. No pitchers confirmed for this matchup. However, take it with a grain of salt. There has been a leak from the LSU camp that they plan on throwing Gage Jump in this game against Georgia, which would be very notable. He's been the game one starter for LSU for a couple of weeks now. I believe that Luke Holman's the better arm of the two, but Gage Jump's been super, super solid this year. I say take it with a grain of salt, though, because Jay Johnson has been known to be very, very tight to his chest on announcing starting pitchers. I was ready to strangle him all throughout Omaha and the NCAA tournament run last year. But knowing that he started Paul Skeens against Tulane with a losing record last year in the NCAA tournament, he probably does not want to take anything to chance. He'll probably go with Gage Jump against Georgia here. I don't have any clue or idea of who Georgia wants to or is ideally going to start in this matchup. But I do like the thought or theory of Georgia advancing far in the NCAA tournament or in the SEC tournament, this weekend. I feel like they are playing for hosting status, whether some believe they might not be a top 16 worthy team, whether they think that they should be top 8. They are playing for a national seed or just a top 16 seed. Georgia, in my opinion, has something to play for this weekend. LSU, I feel like, should be in the field with 13 SEC wins. I believe they just swept Ole Miss to get to that point. But them going with Jump definitely puts up my alarm. Early on in the day, before I could really even tweet it, I jumped on a 43-1 line on Georgia on FanDuel to win the SEC tournament. Don't ask me why FanDuel had that kind of price on it, but it was nothing even close to anywhere else on the market. And Georgia was a longer shot than LSU was. I don't really agree with that, but this pitching matchup that could feature Gage Jump, I would take Gage Jump over almost anybody else in this LSU lineup. But I would take Georgia's offense over almost anybody else in the SEC right now. Georgia The alarming number here is the 606 weekend team ERA. However, the offense, 1044 team OPS, which is top 5 in the country, a 140 WRC plus. LSU going with a 496 weekend team ERA, 900 team OPS, 114 WRC plus. So this one, I'm going to go with Georgia. Again, offense is going to carry the weight of a lot of teams' performances throughout this week. So Georgia to me is propped up to have a really good performance this weekend, in my opinion, especially after losing their last series. And Tannic Caesar says, I saw those lines. Florida was 42-1 too. Yeah, I grabbed a screenshot of some of those crazy lines before they all they locked up the odds screen and we're not taking any bets for 5 minutes after I hit that Georgia. It was pretty soon after. It was 5 minutes after. But yeah, I'm glad that I'm holding the 43-1 for sure on one of the hottest lineups in the country right now. The next game that we're going to talk about, we haven't had a bet that I feel amazing about yet. We're going to talk about another one that I don't really feel amazing about, and it's because we have actually, I think we did find. So I had 2 TBA pitchers, but somebody, I think it was Jake Fettner, found Evan Webster going for Louisville. He's the ace of the Cards. He's going up against Miami. Louisville at minus 140 is pretty juicy. I like that a lot. I'm going to go look up Evan Webster's stats. Give me 2 seconds on this real quick. Because technically he hasn't been pitching game ones for Louisville this season, but he's been their best starter, even better than Sebastian Gongora, and I called that in the preseason. The senior left-hander, Evan Webster, is 5-2 with a 3.54 ERA, 60 strikeouts, 18 walks in 68.2 innings with a 3.71 SIERA. Very, very solid all around. And Miami struggles away from Mark Lightfield. Pulling up the team stats once again. U of L 6. So we know they're starting pitchers. So I'm going to throw out the weekend team ERA because it's not very good. However, Miami's isn't very good either. Louisville 942 team OPS, 123 WRC plus. Miami 592 weekend team ERA, 847 team OPS, 103 WRC plus. I am going to play Louisville. Alfred 44 says, I feel like Louisville loses tomorrow. It's a total gut call, so not worth noting, but felt like I had to share that. Valid. Everybody has opinions. I think that, yes, Louisville has stumbled down the stretch, but they had been putting something together. And again, I had to be announced on both of these teams, and maybe Webster is changing my mind a little bit too much than it should be. I'm going to look up Webster's recent performances like I have for everybody else on today's slate real quick. Webster. So against BC, he went 7 innings shutty. He gave up 5 runs in 3 innings to North Carolina, but ACC champs there. And then he gave up 1 run in 6 innings against Notre Dame. Those were his last 3 starts. Extending it to the last 5, he gave up 4 to Clemson. Again, that's second place team. Oh, and he faced Miami earlier this year. 1 run in 6 innings. I feel pretty good about this, guys. I feel pretty good about this. So overall, in the last 5 games, 5, 10, 11 runs times 9 divided by the amount of innings that he's thrown, 11.1, 18.1, 21.1, 27.1 innings. That's a 3.63 ERA in his last 5 appearances. I mean, that's about steady as what he's done so far this season. So it really shouldn't adjust the handicap at all. I feel really good about Louisville. Minus 140, that should be closing a little bit north of where it's at. So I'm going to write down Louisville as one of my favorite bets when we get to the end of the show. Again, all I did, because it took so fucking long, all I did was write down pitchers for every game. And I'm I'm kind of finalizing my handicaps as I go through this. And I've done this the entire season and each of the last 2 years that I've done this during conference tournament time. I just get the pictures and then I click go live and then I'm handicapping this as I go. So Louisville minus 140, I feel pretty damn good about. Tomorrow, all right, we've got 20 games to go still. I told you this is the best time of the year, and this is why I'm delivering nightly episodes once I feel comfortable with the amount of pitchers that I have, and I've gone through every game. As you know, I'm a night owl. I will be doing some shows at 4 or 5 a.m. I've texted Grissom multiple times before at 4 or 5 a.m. Like, he knows that I'm up late handicapping some of these games. The next game, it's going to take place in Omaha, the Big Ten tournament. Purdue and Indiana, the Boilermakers plus 130, Indiana minus 166. Pitching for the Hoosiers is Ty Bothwell, the grad left-hander. He's 6-2 with a 5.02 ERA, 72 strikeouts, 22 walks, and 71.1 innings this season. 351 Sierra there. He has a 173 ERA in his last 3 starts. One of those 3 starts came against this Purdue team where he went 5 innings, 5 hits allowed, 1 earned run against. And the other 2 games were solid against Nebraska and Michigan. All 3 of those teams top 6 in the Big Ten this season. He's in really, really good shape. Bothwell has been getting the game 1 nod from the Hoosiers recently, so they think that he's their best pitcher, and he's shown it recently. Purdue is going to trot out Jordan Morales, the grad left-hander as well. He's 7-4 with a 4.26 ERA, 72 strikeouts, 80.1 innings with 22 walks in a 3.67 Sierra. However, Morales got knocked around a bit by Illinois in his last start, and he went 5.2 innings, 6 hits allowed, 2 earned runs against Indiana 3 weeks ago. So he also had a good start, but it wasn't amazing. So it's going, the bullpen's going to come into play for Indiana for sure, which it's not great. It's a 5.66 weekend team ERA, 8.88 team OPS, 112 WRC plus. But Purdue, and Purdue, both offenses pretty similar here, actually. Purdue 890 team OPS, 115 WRC plus, and Purdue's weekend bullpen ERA 5.01. So both teams pretty damn similar to each other this season. And I think Indiana won this series earlier in the year. I'm going to look that up real quick. It won't take me too much time. I'm just trying to figure out who hosted. Indiana, when they played Purdue, they won games 2 and 3, but they lost in Morales' start, and this was at Purdue. So that was Morales' start, right? I'm clicking on that box score real quick to find out. Otherwise, I'd feel really comfortable picking Indiana if they won during Morales' start on the road at Purdue. Yeah, so they lost the Morales start. Purdue brought out Avery Cook and Aaron Saval, who are 2 of their better relievers. I saw Cook twice when they came to Ann Arbor. Indiana did not start Bothwell specifically in this game, so that's something to note. Their starter in this game, Brandon Keister, went 0.1 of an inning, giving up 2 runs. So that's interesting for sure. I'm going to take Indiana in this game, but this is another no bet from me. Next game comes at 12:30 p.m. In the AAC. So the second game in the AAC tournament of the day, Rice at East Carolina. This one I'm going to kind of zoom through. ECU's minus 345. But I did find pitchers for this game. So, of course, one of the ones where it's like pretty much untouchable, I can find a pitcher on for both teams. Ethan Norby projected for East Carolina. He's a freshman left-hander, 3-0 with a 3.67 ERA, 48 strikeouts, 16 walks, and 41.2 innings with the 320 Sierra. And look, I'm not going to break the mold. I think ECU is actually a pretty good parlay piece tomorrow, as J.D. McCracken, the junior left-hander, is projected for Rice. He's 4-7 on the year, 5.50 ERA, 61 strikeouts, 45 walks, and 70.1 innings with a 4.52 Sierra. That's not good, and a 7.43 ERA over the last month. ECU beat him up as well. He only got 0.1 of an inning off in their weekend series over the on Friday or Saturday or Sunday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whenever he pitched against ECU this past weekend. So I think the Pirates lineup is primed for another offensive explosion against the food that is Rice and the Owls. Before we continue, let me talk to you about Underdog Fantasy, because the NBA playoffs are here, and our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, wants to make it a lot more interesting for you guys. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. Make entries of all basketball or mix and match across your favorite sports. You can win up to 100 times your money, and it's a ton of fun. Underdog is available in 30-plus states, including California, Texas, and even Canada. Personally, I was writing nightly articles during the college basketball season for Underdog Fantasy. We're hitting at 62%. When you have a bunch of different markets, a bunch of different player projections, it's really fun when you have the opportunity to make a ton of money, and we were. Underdog Fantasy, again, is available in 30-plus states, including California, Texas, and even Canada. They also just launched their Champions player versus player format in Florida, and they're also now legal for drafting in the state of Michigan. Sign up today with our promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Underdog Fantasy, promo code TCE SGPN. Nathaniel Bowe goes, finally caught my boy Noah live. Tip of the cap to you, sir, for helping me add college baseball to my arsenal of sports. Shout out to you, Nathaniel Bowe, 2:32 a.m., joining me live today to, handicap and discuss some college baseball. Plenty of money to be made in the niche market for sure. Next game here. This is one of my favorite bets of the day. Stanford against Arizona State in Scottsdale. This is the Pac-12 tournament, the final Pac-12 event ever. Pour one out. This one's beginning at 10 a.m., I think. 1, 12, 11, 10. Yeah, 10 a.m. Pacific time. The Sun Devils minus 166. The Cardinal plus 130. Going to my team stats here on this list. Where did I put the Pac-12? I didn't put it in alphabetical order, unfortunately. So that's what's going to screw me up a couple of times here. ASU. Well, first off, we have a pitcher for... I didn't double check this, actually. So Jake Fentner said that Connor Markle's starting for Arizona State. He's been their best pitcher this year. I didn't even need to know that. I just know that Stanford for sure is starting Christian Lim. Freshman left-hander, he looks like he's hit that freshman wall. On the season, the flat line looks okay. 4-5 with a 4.01 ERA, 80 strikeouts, 30 walks in 67.1 innings with a 3.37 ERA. However, over the last month, he has a 7.13 ERA, and his last appearance against Arizona State, he gave up 5 earned runs, 8 hits, and 5 innings. So Arizona State's gotten to him recently. Also, in his last 5-ish starts over the last month, he has not been in great form at all. And if Connor Markle's going, I mean, that's literally Arizona State's best pitcher. I feel amazing about this bet. Arizona State, one of the hottest lineups in the country right now that's kind of being slept on. 952 team OPS, 124 WRC plus. Both bullpens are bad, but when it's going to be two offenses slugging it out in a midweek game during a conference tournament, give me the more powerful offense by a large margin. We're talking about 124 WRC plus for Arizona State, 95 WRC plus for Stanford, with just the 804 team OPS for the Cardinal. Arizona State's a bet from me. That's minus 166. Another play for this Tuesday slate. Writing it down in my notebook for the end of the day. Again, haven't placed any of these. Hopefully the prices don't move on me, but I care about getting this thing out ASAP rather than placing my bets first. All right. Next game on the slate is 1:30 p.m. Big 12 tournament taking place in Arlington, pretty damn close to TCU. That's kind of notable as the Horned Frogs are minus 160 against the higher seed, the 4 seed West Virginia, the 9 seed TCU. West Virginia is plus 124 here. We do have starting pitchers for this matchup that have been announced. TCU going with Cademan Parker, the sophomore right-hander. He's 2-1 with a 2.89 ERA, 33 strikeouts, 14 walks, and 28 innings with a 3.35 SIERA. However, in his last 3 appearances, he has a 7.71 ERA. West Virginia is going with Carson Estridge, a sophomore right-hander with a 1-1 record, 3.41 ERA this season, 35 strikeouts, 18 walks, and 31.2 innings with a 3.81 SIERA. A little bit different when you take his recent sample size, more of a reliever. His last 6 innings he's pitched, he's only given up 1 earned run. When you're looking at the 2 teams here, West Virginia's got the marginally better offense as well. We're talking about an 854 team OPS for the Mountaineers, 104 WRC plus compared to TCU's 776 team OPS, 91 WRC plus. So at plus money, West Virginia plus 124. It's a little tough. They are starting a reliever. So the spot starter, you got to weigh in a little bit more of the bullpen into account here. West Virginia's isn't great. 5.42 weekend bullpen ERA or weekend team ERA because it includes starting pitchers in this sample. TCU with a 4.86 weekend team ERA. I love the plus money with West Virginia here. The only thing that nerves me a little bit is the pitching depth or lack thereof for West Virginia. So I'm not going to play it. But on the picks page, I am going to go with West Virginia. And if you wanted to grab the plus money in this game, I would not stop you from doing so. I think it's the right side if you're looking to play a side in this game. Taking a swig of my drink here. I'm also gnawing on an ice cube that went through the straw. 2 o'clock game start between South Carolina and Alabama, 2 teams that are on the 13-win threshold in the SEC. The Gamecocks are minus 110, Alabama minus 120. Now, there are starting pitchers announced for this game. However, when I saw Greg Ferrone starting for Alabama, I was like, you know what? They're going with their ace against Dylan Eskew for South Carolina. Let's go and handicap this one. I feel pretty good about Alabama. I don't feel the same energy as I once did. Ferrone has a 9 ERA in his last 3 games. The senior lefty for Alabama is 4-3 with a 4.27 ERA, 61 strikeouts, 21 walks, and 65.1 innings with a 3.78 SIERA. Eskew hasn't been amazing, but he hasn't been bad. He's been pretty average. 3-4. The junior right-hander is 4.67 ERA this season, 37 walks, 37 strikeouts, 22 walks, and 57 innings with a 4.30 SIERA. He's not going to blow you away with any great stuff, whether it be fastball or off speed, but he's gonna do the job and eat up some innings here for South Carolina to begin in this do or die game. Personally, I am going to side with Alabama with my gut. 1, with Ferrone going, but 2, they're going to have the home crowd behind them as well, this being in Hoover, Alabama. Alabama this season has a 913 team OPS, 117 WRC plus. South Carolina 885 team OPS, 113 WRC plus. So a slight edge here to South Carolina to Alabama, in this matchup. And I'm going to move on. Alfred 44 says I'm parlaying Arizona State with Coastal tomorrow. Coastal was the one game that I kind of sped by, mainly because I've not been like the biggest fan of this Coastal team, and I don't love the price slapped on Coastal Carolina, because Georgia State was a team, if I do recall correctly, I may not be, but Georgia State had their way with this Coastal Carolina team earlier this season. I got to pull that up, but at minus 350, I think it is. I just minus 250. Sorry. I just totally skipped over it because, again, I haven't been the biggest fan of this Coastal Carolina baseball team. But that's the second game from right now that we're talking about. So I'll skip to that one real quick and just find the game, recent series that they played. And I know there are pitchers out for this matchup too. Coastal. Oh, so Coastal, they went to Coastal and they put up plenty of runs, but they lost 17-13 in game 1. They won game 2 10-9. They lost 17-7 in game 3. So I remembered incorrectly, didn't remember at all. But I don't love the large price on Coastal. Ghost Dad said he just parlayed Arizona State, Louisville, and East Carolina at plus 243. So those are the three that I felt pretty comfortable at the beginning. Good luck to you, my friend. That's a nice early slate parlay for sure. Hopefully we're cashing before 3 p.m. Eastern time if all three of those hit. Alfred 44 responding to Nathaniel Bowe. Nathaniel Bowe saying that he loves Ghost Dad's parlay. Let's go, dude. We've got 21 live in YouTube chat at 2:41 a.m. This is awesome. I love this. I love you guys. Thanks for giving us this platform to continue doing this for a third year now running. The next game that we're going to talk about is UT Rio Grande Valley against UT Arlington. The Mexicans, as Moneyline Mac in college basketball season calls UTRGV, the Mexicans are minus 125, UTA minus 105. That's the Mavs there. UNLV 94 says he's in the chat. He goes, Noah, let's ride. Ghost Dad says, yes, sir. Lead us to the promised land. So UTRGV, UT Arlington. Arlington, I was not able to find a probable pitcher here. However, with UTRGV, they're throwing their ace, Zach Gemeland. That's how I'm going to pronounce that. It starts with a T, J-E-L, Gemeland. Senior right-hander. He's 6-3 with a 3.72 ERA, 78 strikeouts, 24 walks in 75 innings with a 3.31 SIERA, and he was just named to the WAC All-Second Team. Or all WAC second team. That's how you say it. So yeah, he's their ace. And for the Vaqueros, I think that's enough. I don't even really need to know Arlington's pitcher because their offense has been really lacking this year. Arlington, only an 82 WRC plus, 735 team OPS compared to UTRGV, 818 team OPS, 100 WRC plus. Again, like a very average offense compared to the national scene, but 18% better in runs creation than Arlington. And the Mavs have a 5.79 weekend team ERA compared to the Vaqueros 5.21 team ERA. I will say this as a disclaimer before I go ahead and say it. I have not watched a lick of UTRGV outside of them absolutely destroying Texas earlier this season in a midweek game. That's the only time I've seen the Vaqueros play this season. However, at this minimal price of minus 125, which I think has moved, I think it was minus 120, minus 110 when it started, I'm going to jump on the line movement with the line movement. I'm going to go with UTRGV minus 125. I feel pretty good just on paper handicapping this game. Again, haven't watched much of UTRGV. I have seen some UT Arlington games. They scheduled pretty well in the non-conference. However, UTRGV, haven't seen a ton of it again, but I love it on paper. So minus 125 for UTRGV here. Like I said, even if UTA starts with their ace versus ace, UTRGV has the better offense when they get into the bullpens. So that's the pick for that game. 2:30 p.m. Eastern, ASUN tournament, back to the best tournament format in all the land, baby. And I'm going to stick to it. It might be a hot take, but I don't care. Kennesaw State minus 110, Stetson minus 120. Kennesaw State and Stetson. I got to check real quick to see if this was put into our group chat. Sorry, I just bumped my microphone. Kennesaw State and Stetson. No, we have two TBAs on this game. So just going to the flat handicaps here for this matchup. Kennesaw State, 474 weekend team ERA, 800 team OPS, 97 WRC plus. Stetson with a 483 weekend team ERA, 851 team OPS, 107 WRC plus. Plus, they are hosting this game in DeLand. So I'm going to go with Stetson here as the pick. 3 p.m. Eastern, Georgia Tech at Florida State. The Ramblin' Wreck plus 124. The Seminoles minus 160. I believe we had 2 TBAs on this game as well. Correct. So, again, flat team handicaps for this game. FSU, 481 weekend bullpen or weekend team ERA. Sorry, I keep misspeaking on that stat. 963 team OPS, 125 WRC plus. Both offenses are pretty even with each other. However, Georgia Tech, 681 weekend team ERA, which is a full 2 runs worse than Florida State's. They are playing for something, though. Like, they do have their backs against the wall. They're on the NCAA tournament bubble. Florida State, however, should feel the need to want to win a game too, trying to host a regional this year. They're kind of on the inside looking out of a top 16 regional host seed. I feel good about Florida State. I would need to know how desperate Georgia Tech is for a win here, who they're kind of starting in this game for me to feel really comfortable picking this game. For now, I'm going to go with Florida State to win this game. Alfred44 says Florida State is a sleeper in the NCAA to me. So you're saying NCAA tournament compared to the ACC tournament. I just want to make sure we're not confusing the two tournaments here, because I do like Florida State. I have some money on them to make Omaha. So I'm rooting with them for sure. Next game here on the slate is 4 p.m. start time Eastern. It's the Georgia State Coastal Carolina game that I kind of already mentioned, but at minus 250, I'm not betting that one straight. That's the only reason why I didn't handicap that one. 4 o'clock Eastern as start time as well. Charlotte against UTSA. This is in the AAC tournament. The 49ers plus 105. The Roadrunners minus 135. This is an absurd price. Let's just start off with this. UTSA is a very, very good team this season. They took 2 of 3 against East Carolina earlier this year. Charlotte has been rough. Big letdown season for the 49ers after making the NCAA tournament last year, being a regional finalist in the Clemson regional. Minus 135 is a disrespectful price on UTSA. But this matchup, where am I at in my notebook here? Charlotte is starting their ace, Cole Reynolds, senior left-hander. He hasn't been amazing this year. 4-6 with a 5.10, 79 strikeouts, 39 walks in 67 innings with a 3.76 Sierra. However, the mentality of throwing your best pitcher is going to give the team confidence against a UTSA team who is not throwing their best pitcher, in Braylon Owens. He's a junior right-hander. He's 4-1 on the year, 5.32 ERA. He's got 49 strikeouts, 21 walks, and 47.1 innings, 3.81 Sierra. But in his last 5 appearances, he's been really good, 1.48 ERA. So that's something to keep in mind, that UTSA thinks that they can throw Owens and get by Charlotte, which Charlotte's been kind of rough this season. And UTSA has the better bullpen, the better offense than Charlotte. If you want to jump on this, like I said, disrespectful price on UTSA, I'm not arguing you at all. But I think the motivation for Charlotte behind throwing their best pitcher here is going to give them some confidence, some false confidence. So that should keep them in the game. Flat handicaps on the teams. UTSA, 4.97 weekend team ERA, 8.38 team OPS, 104 WRC plus. It's better than Charlotte all around. Like I said, 6.56 weekend team ERA, 7.85 team OPS, 92 WRC plus there for those two teams. I'm checking in on the YouTube chat. It's moving along. Nathaniel Bowe said he had ECU against Charlotte, and they're live in my head after that series. And then Victor Landros says LSU, anyone? we're going to get to LSU in a little bit. Or actually, no, we talked about LSU. I went with Georgia, but I think that if Gage Jump throws, that one's going to be a true coin flip game for sure. Should be interesting in Wes Johnson's, first game against LSU, because they didn't play in the regular season. If I'm remembering correctly, so that's a really fun storyline in that one. Next game on our slate here is 5 p.m. in the Big 12 tournament, UCF at Cincinnati. No, this is not the AAC tournament. Both of those teams were American Athletic Conference teams last year. However, they're both competing in the Big 12 tournament this year. And we have starting pitchers for this one. Dom Stagliano is going for UCF. He's a junior right-hander. He's been pretty good this year, 4-4 with 3.82 ERA, 60 strikeouts, 20 walks, and 66 innings with a 3.63 SIERA. In his last 5 starts, he's got a 3.30 ERA. Cincinnati's countering with Nathan Taylor, a freshman right-hander who is 8-2 with a 5.45 ERA, 68 strikeouts, 32 walks, and 69.1 innings, 3.98 SIERA, 4.45 ERA in his last 5 starts. So he has been pitching better as of recently. Nathan Taylor has. So this is a freshman that really kind of hasn't hit that wall. He's been excelling as of recent in Big 12 play. Stagliano has been a really steady arm, though, the entire year. Giving you some team handicaps between the two. UCF, 4.89 weekend team ERA, 8.07 team OPS, 96 WRC plus. Cincinnati with a run worse team ERA, 5.78 there, with an 8.55 team OPS, 1.08 WRC plus. I'm gonna actually go with UCF here. This is a little bit of a revenge matchup. Wow, that's a tongue twister. Cincinnati went into Orlando and took 2 of 3 against UCF earlier this season. And I think that they have the pitching advantage in this one, just with the experience of Stagliano. And again, he's very steady. He doesn't really have too many blow-up starts. So I'm going to go with UCF in this one. And they're favored in this matchup as well, being the lower seed. Nathaniel Bowe says, I like Georgia. That lineup can hit. They are playing in Hoover, though. It's a neutral site matchup. Traveling Fool says, yo, yo, yo. And my 00 face says, I was watching clips on, oh my, how to make your orgasm every time, then saw this was live. There we go. And shout out to him. He's wearing, he's got the Ferris Bueller avatar or logo or whatever on YouTube. I was Ferris Bueller my freshman year, college Halloween. So shout out to you. My initial reaction to that was kind of embarrassing. Oh boy. Next game on our slate here is 5:30 p.m. Eastern in the SEC tournament, Florida and Vanderbilt. The Gators are plus 110. The Vandy boys are minus 140. Interesting pitching matchup here as both teams are establishing the want and the need to win this game. As Pierce Capola is starting for Florida. Again, he's on a pitch limit, has been for quite a while. He's made 5 starts this season. He's 0-3 with a 9.28 ERA, 13 strikeouts, 5 walks, and 10.2 innings total with a 3.85 SIERA. And Vandy is starting Bryce Cunningham Jr., right-hander, 6-4, 4.54 ERA, 88 strikeouts, 31 walks, and 73.1 innings with a 3.17 ERA. And again, he has been their best pitcher this season. So that's another technical ace going on this Tuesday. I'm going to go with Vandy. I said it on our futures episode. So shout out to you guys if you listen to the full 80 minutes on that one. The whole unfortunate story around Asher Sullivan has given Vanderbilt a purpose. They have recently fallen completely apart, and I had sold them down the river. Hated this Vanderbilt team in the preseason. They haven't performed recently to expectation, kind of like how I predicted. However, I'm jumping on the sinking ship here now because for those that are unaware, I'm going to repeat the story. If you are aware, fast forward 30 seconds. But basically, there's a kid in the Nashville area, diehard Vanderbilt baseball fan, Asher Sullivan. During some storms recently, like 3 weeks ago in the Nashville area, he was completely wiped out into like a sewage drain. I believe the story is, and he was critically injured. He was like a 10-year-old, critically injured, taken to the hospital, ER ridden for about 2 weeks. Vanderbilt baseball visited him a couple of times in that hospital, a couple of the players, Tim Corbin, and basically like he was in a really severe situation. Asher's brother, Declan, basically got the ability or had the opportunity to join Tim Corbin and the Commodores baseball team in the dugout during the third game against Tennessee that Vanderbilt was able to salvage and stop themselves from getting swept at home by their in-state rival. So that was a real big motivational get up for Vandy. Yes, they lost the series, but having the brother in the dugout, they played well. Then fast forward to this last weekend, Vanderbilt goes to Lexington, Kentucky. They lose the first 2 games. It wasn't really even competitive against Kentucky. Kentucky wins the SEC regular season title on Friday, which was game 2. On Saturday morning, Asher passes away. Vanderbilt plays some of their best baseball the entire season. So I think that this is like Vanderbilt has completely collapsed during the regular season as it's come down the stretch here. However, they are kind of playing for an ulterior motive that's giving them some positive energy, and what they've I think they've lost like 4 series in a row here to finish the season. So like Alfred 44, thank you for saying, because I wasn't even going to mention it. It's tragic magic for sure. So for Vanderbilt, so I think they win this game against Florida. Plus, like Florida, technically they're going to finish above 500 this season. That's all they needed to do. They had a really tough schedule. They played all 6 SEC teams that are probably going to host regionals this season. They had the toughest scheduling draw in the preseason. I thought they were going to be a much better team than they kind of are this season. And they also have 2 outfielders that are injured and out for the season now. So I think the time is right for Vanderbilt for sure to win this matchup. YouTube chat's rolling. We've got so 133 cumulative have tuned into the stream and 27 live in YouTube right now. Toxic Draco says making a fun lotto slip with all these picks. Ferris Bueller goes, thanks Noah, it's been a while since I hung out and listened to some baseball chat. Traveling Fool says my alter ego is Abe Froman. That's also from Ferris Bueller. That's a great callback. Ghost Dad says, are you doing a show every night this week? That's my goal, and I will be doing it. Not just my goal, I will be live every night this week for sure. Yvette's been around. She knows that I'm going at like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. doing these shows. So for sure, I will be around. I'm always trying to deliver. And Ferris Bueller also reacting to this Vanderbilt story that I told. He goes, holy smokes, whoa, this is like a script for a movie so far. Passes away, damn, so these injuries were super bad. My condolences, rip. Avetta says, there's been rumors that Cam Leiter's agent wants to limit his pitch count to avoid TJ, so his return keeps getting pushed back. We need all our starters for the postseason. I mean, there could be some truth to that for sure. Thinking about the kid's future in the MLB, need to send some of these guys that stepped up back to that awful bullpen Iveta is talking about, their weekend rotation. So yeah, the specific team handicaps, I didn't really walk through those. Vandy won the weekend series against Florida earlier this season, 105 WRC plus for the Commodores, 848 team OPS. Which are a little bit worse than Florida's 900 team OPS, 112 WRC plus. But like I said, nobody has ever really questioned this Vanderbilt pitching staff and the talent they've got over there. They just haven't really performed to the expectation placed on them. 5.68 weekend team ERA. Florida 6.14 weekend team ERA. I think Vanderbilt's got the pitching depth to be able to get them through a week-long tournament like the SEC tournament. They could be last year's Vanderbilt or last year's Texas A&M, in my opinion, who played in one of the first games on Tuesday and played all the way to Sunday and lost to last year's Vanderbilt team who won the SEC tournament. So, yeah, all that said, I'm on Vandy in this game tomorrow against Florida. Before we move on, let me talk to you guys about our newest sponsor, Rhythm. That is spelled RITHMM. If you're betting on NBA player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm gives you a menu of the best player props for every single NBA playoff game, making it easy to go through and find the best props to put your money on in seconds. Rhythm's predictions are backed by over 3 years of data and a team of data scientists and quants that focus on fine-tuning our algorithm to give you the best shot at winning. Rhythm pairs its predictions with player prop graphs to help you feel even more confident in your picks, which you can make wherever you normally place your bets or DFS picks. From superstars to bench players, Rhythm finds the best player prop lines, all backed by AI data without you needing to endlessly scroll through a sports book. Rhythm also allows you to create your own custom NBA models so you can get an AI-backed moneyline spread and total picks for every playoff game. Start a free 7-day trial and start winning your NBA player props with Rhythm, available wherever you get your apps. All right, so we're home free for the rest of this show. 5:30 p.m. Eastern start. Utah against USC in the Pac-12 tournament over there in Scottsdale. We have starting pitchers projected for this game. USC is going to try out Caden Aoki. Both of these guys, actually. So Utah is going with Peyton Risky. Both of these guys had long absences during the year. Aoki, I think, was hurt. Risky, a freshman, I just don't think he got many nods during the season to go out there and pitch. Aoki, the junior righty for the Trojans, he's 2-3 on the year with a 4.22 ERA, 40 strikeouts, 8 walks, and 42.2 innings with a 3.28 SIERA. And Risky for Utah is 2-0 with a 5.25 ERA, 11 strikeouts, 6 walks, and 12 innings with a 4.20 SIERA. Just this past weekend, actually, USC swept Utah. So really impressive 3-game performance from the Trojans for sure. So it's giving me no reason to jump off that prediction. And Utah on paper does not have, they have a disadvantage on the mound to start this game for sure. I like the experience that Aoki is going to provide for USC here. But the question here is whether the Trojans offense is going to show up this week. 758 team OPS, 87 WRC plus compared to Utah's 818 team OPS, 100 WRC plus. I'm going to go with the Trojans, but overall, not going to play any money on that. Catching up with the YouTube chat. Ferris Bueller's going, it seems like kids want to get TJ out of the way early so it doesn't affect them down the line, which there is some truth to, but also like nobody really wants to deal with TJ. But if they are having some arm issues, they kind of want to deal with it prior to getting to the pros, because that's what matters most. If you've kind of already established yourself as a prospect, you're going to be drafted at some point. It might not be as high as you wanted it to be. However, they're going to get into the farm system, and then you just work your way up from there. So yeah, they're talking about the Cam Leiter situation for sure. And Ferris Bueller also talking about Paul Skeens. So next game on the slate here is 6:00 start time between Sacramento State and Tarleton State. Didn't find a pitcher. Both teams have a TBA that I saw. So taking you to the flat team handicaps here. Sacramento State 459 weekend team ERA, 779 team OPS with 91 WRC plus. We're dealing with two pretty below average offenses. 787 team OPS from Tarleton State, 95 WRC plus, and their weekend team ERA 509. So might not be a ton of scoring in this game. So if somebody slaps a high number on this game without really kind of looking at the two teams, could be a fun under to play over there in the WAC. But overall, I am going to take Tarleton State. The next game here, also in the Missouri Valley Conference at 6 p.m. Eastern, Belmont and Southern Illinois. The Salukis, minus 135. The Bruins, plus 105. To be announced pitchers for both teams again in this one. So both pitching staffs are pretty even to each other. Actually, like really close. Belmont, 615 weekend team ERA. Southern Illinois, 616 team ERA, but Southern Illinois has got the much better offense than Belmont does. 833 team OPS for the Salukis, 102 WRC plus. Belmont has a 778 OPS with an 89 WRC plus. So we'll go with SIU in that matchup. The next one is 7 p.m. start. Penn State against Illinois in Omaha. The College World Series site, the Chuck, aka Charles Schwab Field. We have one pitcher announced for this game. Illinois has a TBA. Illinois is the 1 seed in this Big Ten tournament for what it's worth. Penn State's going to go with their most reliable and most experienced starting pitcher that they have, Travis Lunsman. You could call him an ace, but the numbers say otherwise. With a 5.26 SIERA under the hood, 4.96 ERA. He is 6-2 on the year with 61 strikeouts. Get this, 59 walks in 69 innings. This Illinois offense is too good, and they're going to be able to be patient enough to get through Lunsman here. So I like Illinois in this game over Penn State, and they are minus 200. So it has been bet up to a price that I kind of wouldn't touch it anymore straight wise. But that's a nice also parlay piece when we're talking about somebody was in the chat earlier, dropping some parlays earlier. Another game with TBAs slapped next to team names. Virginia Tech plus 110, Duke minus 140 here. I personally am on the opinion or viewpoint or my observation of Duke right now is that they just want to get through this ACC tournament as healthy as possible. Their pitching staff is just all hands on deck, really. They don't really have that weekend rotation. Even on a normal weekend, they are throwing TBAs out left and right. I think they just want to get through this week. Everybody healthy, rest all their starters, hopefully get Jonathan Santucci back healthy and rested. Whereas Virginia Tech's playing to get into the NCAA tournament. They're on the bubble currently, and they've got a very, very good offense. This is the second best offense in the ACC tournament this year, only behind Virginia, who they lost the weekend series to last weekend. So I think that Virginia Tech's actually a really interesting play, not only here against Duke, but throughout this ACC tournament. I like them as a dark horse to win this, as a long shot dart throw to win the ACC tournament. The 10 seed Virginia Tech, 5.61 weekend team ERA, 9.70 team OPS, 127 WRC plus, compared to Duke, 4.90 weekend team ERA, 9.59 team OPS, 125 WRC plus. The offenses are pretty even. It's a coin flip when it comes to that, but Duke does have the pitching advantage. But again, the way I'm viewing it right now, I think they're not really going to overextend any of their arms that they have right now. Ferris Bueller says, I forgot how much you include the chat into the conversation. Sorry to interrupt. I'm just yapping away. I'll be quiet and listen. Dude, I love the interaction portion of the show, and I think that's what makes college experience great on YouTube. Plus that college basketball show that we do during the year, we have like 250 plus, and we're just displaying chats and we're rolling like half the time. Like there's conversations going in the chat, and it's absolutely outstanding. Everybody loves that college basketball show. Personally, I'm the producer kind of behind the scenes, but I also hop in and give out picks when I really feel comfortable. And And that is what I try to model this show after, because that one's our best show for sure. Iveta says 400. We had 400 plus during March Madness. We got up to 500. So yeah, just that one's our most popular show on the network for sure. And why wouldn't you try to model it off after that? So like, yeah, I try to involve the chat in the show as well, because I do think that some of you guys are either one, hilarious, two, can add something to the conversation, and three, I'm hosting this show solo, so any help, I appreciate it. Like Iveta coming in and talking about Cam Leiter, yeah, deliver more of that. I'm never going to complain for sure. The next game here that we'll talk about is Jacksonville and Eastern Kentucky in the ASUN tournament. This one's at 7 p.m. Eastern. The Dolphins are minus 160. The Colonels are plus 124. I like Jacksonville here quite a bit. I'm going to walk through this. I might end up betting this by the time I get done, because I only really initially handicapped this one with my gut. So we have projected starting pitchers for this one. Richard Long and Jake Fettner gave him the nickname Dick when he was sending us the team names or the projected starters that he had. So Richard Long Dick. So Dick Long, the junior righty for Jacksonville, 6-2, 3.97 ERA, 61 strikeouts, 26 walks, and 77 innings with a 4.54 Sierra. In his last 5 starts, he's been super solid, 1.64 ERA. I'm sure he's heard the name Dick Long for a long time in his life, but he's been pitching with a long ass dick recently. This show is definitely getting slapped with an explicit tag now. So he's in great form. Nathan Lawson for Eastern Kentucky is not in great form. Lawson over his last 5 starts, 8.55 ERA. He's a sophomore righty, 4-4 on the year, 8.25 ERA on the season, 39 strikeouts, 24 walks, and 60 innings pitched with a 5.03 Sierra. Now, the thing to me here is that Jacksonville doesn't have a tremendous offense. 782 team OPS, 95 WRC plus. EKU with an 824 team OPS, 98 WRC plus. However, EKU's got a full 2 runs worse weekend team ERA than JU does, and JU's got the better starting pitcher. We've only got 3 plays right now, so I'll add a 4th one here. Jacksonville is on the card. Jacksonville at minus 160. I like that play. 7:30 p.m. Eastern. FAU plus 105 against Tulane minus 135. FAU is starting CJ Williams, a senior right-hander. He's been one of their best and most experienced pitchers this season for the Owls. 5-4, 3.39 ERA, 70 strikeouts, 34 walks, and 79.2 innings with a 4.57 Sierra. In his last 3 starts, though, he has a 6.77 ERA. Going for Tulane is Chandler Welch, a junior right-hander. He's 6-3 with a 4.58 ERA, 74 strikeouts, 18 walks, and 76.2 innings with a 3.28 Sierra. In his last 3 starts, he's been pretty much, marginally better than CJ Williams has for FAU. Chandler Welch has a 2.56 ERA in his last 3 starts for the Green Wave. And on paper, the Green Wave have the much better offense here. 866 team OPS, 108 WRC plus, and the Owls with a 769 team OPS, 90 WRC plus. I will also jump on Tulane minus 135. This one, along with Jacksonville, I should say, have been a little bit more of the fringe bets for sure, but I think that is also the right side, and it's at a pretty good price. So Tulane minus 135, I like that as well. Ghost Dad says, ended up doing Georgia and Vandy at plus 251 in a parlay. Best of luck, my friend. I'll be rooting those along for you for sure, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow in the chat after it hits. 7:30 p.m. Eastern in the Sun Belt. This is one of the play-in games as well for that tournament. Georgia State, Coastal Carolina was one of the play-in games. Now we get to the second play-in game in South Alabama and ODU. The Jaguars are plus 110. The Monarchs are minus 140. Starting in this game, we have TBAs. Both teams TBA here. So flat team handicaps for this one. Where are we at? South Bama and ODU. Jaguars 534 weekend team ERA, so that's important when we have the TBA announced. 773 team OPS with 91 WRC plus. ODU kind of right there with them, 775 team OPS, 86 WRC plus, but they have a little bit of a better team ERA on the weekends, 453. So, I mean, this is a coin flip game for sure. I'll go with ODU at minus 140. I do not have much conviction behind that pick at all. Let's go to a game that I feel a little bit more comfortable talking about. Texas Tech and Texas playing in Arlington in the Big 12 tournament at Globe Life Field, Globe Life Park, whatever it is. The Longhorns are minus 180. The Red Raiders are plus 140. We do have projected pitchers for this game. Kyle Robinson is projected for Texas Tech. He's a junior right-hander. On the year, he's 4-7 with a 4.97 ERA, 73 strikeouts, 34 walks, and 70.2 innings with a 3.89 SIERA. In his last four starts, or his last four appearances, I should say, he has a 9.41 ERA. Ace Whitehead for Texas isn't much better. In his last four appearances, he's got a 6.75 ERA. However, the junior lefty on the season is 4-1 with a 4.07 ERA, 41 strikeouts, 21 walks, and 55.1 innings with a 4.62 SIERA. A starting pitching matchup, in my opinion, is a wash. This should be more of an offensive game script for sure, where, that kind of plays into what Texas Tech's going to be comfortable with. 934 team OPS for the Red Raiders, 122 WRC plus. Texas, 911 team OPS, 114 WRC plus. So yeah, I think for the price that Texas is being advertised at, I don't want to touch it at minus 180. Texas Tech seems to be live in this one. But Texas has the better pitching depth for sure. And I don't really want to bet against that when they could just throw Ace Whitehead for 2 innings and then come in with a better bullpen. 5.03 weekend team ERA for the Longhorns. We're talking about 6.16 for Texas Tech. And Texas has been red hot to finish the year. They've finished 13-3 in their last 16 games with series wins over Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, TCU, and Houston, I believe, were the 4 teams there. So yeah, I'm gonna not bet against Texas, but also say that Texas Tech can be live in this one. Nathaniel Bowe is ready for the next game that we're going to talk about, 9 p.m. Eastern. And hopefully, if there's not extra innings or rain delays, there shouldn't be any weather in the forecast. There isn't any weather in the forecast, I should say, for Hoover. So fingers crossed that we don't get many delays in the SEC tournament, where that will turn into a 2 a.m. Eastern start for Ole Miss, Mississippi State. However, we do have the Egg Bowl, the Governor's Cup, one last time. The two teams are 2-2 against each other this season. Ole Miss won the weekend series in Oxford. Mississippi State won the midweek game in, Jackson? It's in a minor league ballpark in the state of Mississippi. Forgive me for not knowing that by heart. And Nathaniel Bowe, if you do know, help me out in the chat. The Bulldogs are minus 145 here. The Rebs are plus 114. Ole Miss is going with Riley Maddox. They're up against the wall. They need this win badly. He's been their game 1 starter recently. But he hasn't been great. 3-7 record on the year, 6.10 ERA on the year, 46 strikeouts, 23 walks, and 62 innings with a 4.02 SIERA. And in the last month, he has an 8.42 ERA. Mississippi State's going to counter with Brooks Auger, the senior right-hander. He's 1-2 with a 3.78 ERA, 34 strikeouts, 16 walks, and 33.1 innings with a 3.86 ERA. Recently, though, since he's been moved in kind of a starting pitcher role, he hasn't been amazing with a 5.40 ERA over the last month here for the Bulldogs. However, I do feel much better about the situation that Hail State's in compared to Ole Miss. Ole Miss needs this game more than Mississippi State. I would say that, but also Mississippi State's playing to try to host in the NCAA tournament to become a top 16 seed. So they would like to win this game and play some more SEC games, hopefully bring up their RPI. So at minus 145, I'm going to go with the Bulldogs here in Hoover. Not that the location of this game makes a true difference, but I think that they've got the better pitching staff to be able to get them through a 9-inning game than Ole Miss does. Because if you want to just take it with the offenses and handicap it that way, Ole Miss has a fighting shot. Ole Miss 811 team OPS, 97 WRC plus. Mississippi State kind of in the same ballpark, 855 team OPS, 106 WRC plus there. But where the big difference for me at least comes is the weekend team ERA for the Bulldogs, 407, and Ole Miss 634 weekend team ERA. And again, Riley Maddox hasn't been amazing, and this might just be an over for me personally in this game, in the nightcap for the SEC tournament. That's the penultimate game that we're talking about here on today's episode. The last game that we will kind of zoom by here is Washington and Cal in the Pac-12 tournament in Scottsdale. Cal has a TBA, and Washington's going to trot out Calvin Kirchhoff, senior right-hander, who's 4-4 on the year, 6.86 ERA, 46 strikeouts, 32 walks, and 63 innings with a 4.96 Sierra, 7.58 ERA in his last 4 starts. I'm going to go with Cal. They finished the year pretty hot overall. I think they've won 8 of their last 10. So I really like this Cal team. If you didn't listen to the futures episode that I did with Colby earlier today, or even the tournament preview that I did with Jake McKeever of College Baseball Central, but I really kind of promoted this Golden Bears team hard. However, in both of those episodes, I, didn't read some of the fine print on how the Pac-12 tournament worked. For what it's worth, my predicted semifinal here is going to be, I think Cal knocks off Arizona in pool play, but Arizona beats Washington, and I have Cal beating UW. So I have Cal going 2-0 in this pool. I have my semifinal for the Pac-12 tournament, the final one being Arizona, Oregon State, Oregon, and Cal. How I thought it worked was that it would reseed teams, which it does. It does reseed teams. So I thought it would be Arizona playing the lowest seeded team, which is Cal. However, in the semifinal game, the fine print states that it wants to avoid a rematch like there were in pool play. So Arizona and Cal would not play each other in the semifinal. Arizona would actually play Oregon, and Oregon State would play Cal. So from there, I think it would go Arizona, Oregon State championship final game there, which is the same final that I had. However, if that is the way that it breaks out, we don't get one last Civil War matchup between Oregon State and Oregon under the Pac-12 emblem, which would be unfortunate, but it is what it is. I say all that to say Cal has a TBA. Kirchhoff for Washington hasn't been great this season, hasn't been great as of late. Cal's offense, miles better than Washington. 860 team OPS, 106 WRC plus compared to Washington's 739 team OPS, 82 WRC plus. With the way that Cal has finished this season, I feel pretty comfortable betting on Cal here. The Golden Bears 530 weekend team ERA, UW 595, and like I said, Kirchhoff is even worse than that 595 number. So I'm going to go with Cal minus 150. I'm going to lock that one up as well. And our card, as of right now, has 6 plays, but we got to add a podcast parlay, and I'm going to go to some of the ones that were early on in this show here. I liked starting to lose my voice at the end of the show here. I liked East Carolina minus 345. I liked Arizona State at minus 166. I think Arizona State's my favorite straight play. And I think that's going to be the podcast parlay. I don't think I'm going to add another leg to that. Zooming through all the odds real quick to make sure there wasn't something longer. Yeah, so East Carolina leg 1. That one's at noon 30 Eastern time, 12:30 p.m. In the AAC tournament. They're playing against Rice. They swept Rice this past weekend, and also they put up a bunch of runs on Rice's projected starting pitcher going here on Tuesday for the Owls. JD McCracken, who has a 7.43 ERA over the last month. ECU going with Ethan Norby, who has a 3.67 ERA on the season. So I like that matchup. And then Arizona State, they should feast off of Christian Lim, who I think has hit that freshman wall for Stanford this season. 7.13 ERA over the last month. And his last appearance against Arizona State, he gave up 8 hits, 5 earned in 5 innings. Arizona State rumored to be throwing Connor Markle. I wasn't able to confirm that, but if they are throwing Markle, that's their best pitcher this season. Really like this parlay. Plus 106 for those 2 legs. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you all for tuning in. Cumulative 152 live viewers that we had for this show. Currently 24 watching live on YouTube. Thank you all for watching. Again, nightly episodes. I promise we will be doing nightly episodes, but I can't promise when we're going live. So they're always going to be there for you guys in the morning for your morning drive. That's my goal always with this show, with TCE. We want you to have a show to listen to, giving out gambling picks for your morning drive to work. Ghost Dad says, see you tomorrow. Iveta says, thank you so much, Noah. Yeah, and I'm going to be out of here. I'll see you again tomorrow, and maybe with some guests. If Jake Fettner and Grissom and Johnny help me find some of the starting pitchers, I said, hey, if you guys are going to be up at midnight plus in the wee hours of the morning, I would love to have you on the show. So we could have some guests in the future on the show during conference tournament week. I am not opposed to having another voice of opinion with some sharp, good college baseball gambling knowledge. But as of that for today, that's going to wrap up this Tuesday edition of our NCAA Baseball Gambling Picks episode here on the College Baseball Experience. You better start thinking about yours. Adios, amigos.